Hello and welcome to this quick introduction video. Today I will introduce you to the Dax Morning Scalp strategy that you can find on the MQL5 market. So here in front of us we have the Dax index, also known as the Germany 40 index, or in this case, for example, it's known as the G40.cash. That's the ticker on FTMO. And on other brokers, it's known as the D40, or some brokers will even have it as Germany 30 because they haven't updated their tickers yet or whatever. But yeah, the strategy is a breakout scalping strategy that utilizes pending orders, and the pending orders will be placed at 9:30 Central European Time every day. And you can actually see the trades I took yesterday here. Here was the first trade. So we broke out of the range and we had a quick little scalp here. And here you can see the pending order was triggered later in the day. So this is 10:45 Central European Time, and we had a quick little scalp here as well. The pending orders will be cancelled automatically later in the day if they're not filled, so don't worry about that. And yeah, I think I will just quickly show you how you can test the strategy yourself if you downloaded the demo from the MQL5 market. Um, and I'll just go over the inputs that you can change yourself and how you can customize the strategy if you want to. So let's just get into it. I'll just open up the strategy tester here in MetaTrader 5 and we'll do a single test. And we will select the Dax Morning Scalp strategy. I have too many strategies on but yeah, here's the Dax Morning Scalp version 1.0, which is the current version that you can also find on the MQL5 market. And you can see I've selected the Germany 40.cash ticker here, and I will use the 15-minute time frame, but you can, I mean, it doesn't really matter which time frame you use, because the strategy will only utilize the 15-minute time frame anyways. So even if you mess up and you choose the 5-minute time frame by accident, it will still only use the 15-minute time frame to trade off of, which is also kind of nice, because you can actually have your chart on a different time frame and the strategy will still execute properly on the 15-minute time frame anyways. So for the period here, I will be using the period from the beginning of 2022 to 2023, which is also the period I've shown on the screenshots that I've uploaded to the MQL5 market. We will be using the every tick based on real ticks modeling method, which is the most accurate method you can possibly use because it utilizes real tick data from your broker. You should always use this modeling method if you want to have the most accurate backtesting results. Do not use the every tick method or any of the other modeling methods, as they are not really reliable. From what I've seen, at least, I've tested a lot in here, because these modeling methods don't actually use real data from your broker. They will just use like synthetically calculated data based on MetaTrader 5 calculations, which is like the same as guessing where the market went at a specific time. So yeah, just always use the every tick based on real ticks because that will use your broker's data. This does give you an issue though, because the most brokers will not allow you to have real tick data for very far back because it's a lot of data, you know. So in this case, I'm using FTMO for this test, and they will only allow me to have real tick data going back to the beginning of 2022, which is actually okay. I mean, it's a year and a half worth of real tick data. I mean, I think that's okay. I will use 100 millisecond delay, which is a little more than my current delay. You can see here my current delay right now is 95.5 milliseconds. Right, and I'll use a 10,000 US dollar deposit and 1 to 100 leverage. Good. I will just be using the default inputs for this quick test, and then I will go over the inputs in a second. But if we start it here, we'll see the strategy just working, and the test should not take very long because the code is actually quite optimized. So you can see here it only took 15 seconds to do a year and a half worth of testing. And yeah, you can see the results here, and yeah, history quality should be at least 99%. So make sure to look out for that as well. And yeah, just, you know, try to do maybe the same period as I just did on your broker with the same settings to see if you get sort of the same result. Again, this was done with the default inputs, which are these, and I'll just go over the inputs now. The stop loss percentage is kind of self-explanatory. Here you can choose how much you want to risk on every trade. So the default option is 1% of your balance per trade, but you can do whatever you want. You can also say you want to do 0.5% of your account per trade. That's fine, that will also work. You can do 0.45% if you really want to like be very specific about it. You can do 5%, whatever you want. I would suggest using 1 or 2% in most cases. I myself have been trading the strategy with 4%, but I've been trading it manually for the last year and a half. So I'll probably be using like 2% or whatever in the beginning here while I'm testing the automated version. Then we have the ATR period, which is the period for the ATR indicator. The indicator is used to calculate our volatility at the time of placing the orders. And the volatility is quite important for this strategy as it is the backbone of the strategy. You know, we use volatility conditions to gauge whether it's a good idea to enter the market at specific time. But I would suggest that you just use the default option, which is 5 periods. I mean, I've played around with multiple options, and it doesn't really seem that there's any benefit to using a different one. I mean, you can if you want to. If you find like some like ATR period that's much better than the 5, then by all means go ahead, use that. But yeah, then you have the entry deviation, which is the distance from the breakout point to where the order is placed. Um, so yeah, I would suggest using around 400 or 500 points or pips, which is the same as 4 or 5 Dax points. Stop loss deviation is if you want to just fine tune the stop loss a little bit, you can add a couple of points or something. When I tested it, it didn't really make much sense to do so, but I mean, you can do it if you want to. The take profit is kind of self-explanatory, but this is the default take profit. The strategy uses a default static take profit of 1,000 pips, which is equivalent to 10 DAX points. But you can set it to whatever you want. For example, I did a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio test on one of my screenshots, where I set the take profit to 3100, and I then used this predetermined stop loss input to predetermine the stop loss to 3100, which overrides the variable stop loss that is based on the volatility. So you can do this as well. It actually gave some pretty decent results using this 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. So feel free to play around with that as well. And you can just reset it to 0 if you want to go back to using the variable stop loss. Then we have the safety mode, which you can enable or disable by using true or false here. It is disabled by default, and what this does is that it will stop the system from doing 2 trades a day, which is the maximum otherwise. So if one order is executed, it will delete the other order, and by making sure that you only take 1 trade a day, which will be the first trade. And the first trade is usually has a little higher win rate, so that's why if you want the highest possible win rate, you can do this. But you will actually lose out on a little bit of profit, as the second trade is also quite profitable, and it's not like there's massive difference between the two. But yeah, that's up to you. If you just want to play it safe, you can always just put it to true, and yeah, it will still produce a profitable result for sure. At least from my testing. And then you have the magic number, which is just a unique identification number for the expert advisor, and you should just always change this to something unique for yourself. It can be whatever you want. I mean, you can just use something like that, like totally random number, but just make sure that it's unique. And it should definitely not be the same as any of your other expert advisors, so make sure to check that. But yeah, you can also just go with the default one, but I would suggest that you change it to just whatever. I mean, yeah. And yeah, so I think that was it. We could go over here on IC markets and do a quick test on here as well with the default settings. Yeah, I actually have the 1-to-1 risk reward ratio settings on here right now. Just change it. And you can see here I've used the beginning of 2023 as the starting point on IC markets instead, because they will actually not allow me to have as much real-tick data as FTMO does. So here I actually only have like 7 months of real-tick data. And you can see here the symbol for the German DAX index is DE40 on IC markets. Yeah, just be aware of that. And yeah, as you can see, I will be using the every tick based on real tick method as well. And yeah, let's just try and start it. Yes. And yeah, the strategy should only be used for the German DAX index. I would not recommend trying to use it on any other market. I mean, you can try it if you want to, but I would not recommend it, and I don't think it's gonna do particularly well on any other market, as it was highly specifically designed for the German DAX index. So yeah, but I mean, feel free to just play around with the strategy in whatever way you want. Yeah, but let's see the backtest results here. You see a profit factor of 1.86 is very good actually. Profitable trades 85.4%. Maximum drawdown of 4%. Maximum equity drawdown of 4.2%. And a total profit of around almost 25% just for this year alone, with a 1% stop loss on every trade. So I mean, I think that is quite good. But yeah, I'll let you decide that. And I think that was it for this quick video. Maybe it ended up being a little longer than I had initially thought it was going to be, but hopefully it was detailed enough for you to get a good understanding of the strategy, which is the most important part. And yeah, have fun testing it yourself. Feel free to reach out to me on MQL5 if you have any questions about the strategy.